Everybody, Mondays with Mark Allen. Today is a special day. I have Alec Rukosuev, who, if you don't know him, he was one of the first triathletes ever to compete in triathlon outside of Russia. He and I actually met at the Säter Triathlon in Sweden in 1990. Is that right, Alec? We were there together.
Yep.
And I heard that there was this Russian triathlete, and I had no idea. They said the guy is a good swimmer, but there's a story to it because Alec wasn't on his best day. He can tell you what was going on that day with your body. You had a little bit of an accident that had it happened prior to the race.
So I'll try to be brief about it. 5 weeks prior to that, I was doing a race in Estonia, and my biking skills always excellent. So I landed on my right hand and broke my hand. So for 4 weeks, I only swam like with one arm. The doctors were able to like put in a plastic material back then, and I just would swim and run very little. So like 4 weeks, almost no train, but I couldn't miss first trip overseas because it was a great opportunity to sell some vodka and make some living.
Hey, you got to make money anywhere you can
You
as a
gotta make it.
pro athlete.
I think we each only allowed 2 bottles vodka. I think we all brought about 20 bottles each, and 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 sold it, and very busy doing that. So, and then the race, I believe I lost to you like hour or maybe hour 10, but I was make sure I'm gonna stay ahead of you on the swim. So.
Yeah, you beat me out of the water, and I was pretty concerned. Of course, you didn't tell me that you had a broken hand. That would have made things easier for me. But um, tell people what it was like back then to race as a Russian triathlete, to be able to get out of the country and compete.
So back then, it's like we still on the end of a Soviet Union. We basically, I felt like we had a great system because we in the training camp for 3 weeks, constantly 3 sports a day. Well, none of the coaches knew what to do. Like we kind of experiment by yourselves. Everybody was driven. So we had 3 weeks in the camp, and then 1 week they would allow us to go home, or maybe 10 days. Very few people knew about this. As we went home, a lot of athletes took rest. When we went home, I actually trained twice harder because I was trying to get ahead on my guys, like sneaky train, so to speak. So I would go home, basically almost ran every day 20K in the 200 indoor track, 200 meters track.
Wow.
So because, and so, and we compete inside of Russia maybe 3-4 times to select national team. And then we travel overseas maybe 3-4 times a year. And you have to like make sure you stay on top, you make national team, otherwise it's impossible to travel.
Well,
So,
and eventually you did leave Russia. Was that motivated by triathlon, or did you have bigger reasons for that?
well, I'm gonna tell you this, I'm gonna try not to cry, but like my first experience in Sweden, and I told Thomas Gustafsson, I don't know if you remember him. He's now part of a Ironman Sweden. They let us eat in like soldier cafeteria, and it was best food ever. And I remember like orange juice. I never had orange juice before, and we had this food, and I told him it's like best food ever. Like 15, 20 years later, I met him in Hawaii. I told him story. He's like laughing at me. He goes, it was a soldiers cafeteria, and they had like non-alcoholic beer, and we like loving it. So I was like sit down, and I was like almost like took a pause. I was like, these people have been lying to us for years. Is like, it's such a great life exists overseas, but nobody knows about it because all we see on TV is homelessness in America and just capitalists not doing well. So I came back home. Then that same year we traveled to Germany, Switzerland, and US. And after I came back to US, I came home. I said to my wife, I said, we're going to leave. And back then it was like, it was very devastating. Like just to idea, I said, we're going to leave. And she's like, you're not being patriotic. Like we supposed to stay here. Like it's something you not even talk about it.
Yeah.
And then she kind of like, okay, let's try. So kind of like, so the following year World Championships was in Australia. And I tried to stay there. I went to immigration and I asked them how long it will take to bring my wife over. They told me 6 to 9 months. And I saw them that moment. I said, no way in the world I'm gonna be able to bring her. She's gonna be stuck there.
Yeah.
So we went. Jeff Quarterback, you remember Jeff? Our good friend Jeff.
Yeah.
So Jeff Quarterback was my homestay when World Championships in Orlando. That's how we, in 1990, I stayed in his house, and at Australia, at Gold Coast, we went to this world famous walk. Everybody remembers about. In my very small English, I explained to them, I cannot stay here. And Jeff offered, how about you come to US and try make it? So like 3-4 months later, we went through separate, everywhere we went separate through the border patrol in customs. We not going together. We try not show like we are married. And back then, I don't believe we had computers. So anyway, we landed 1992, January 16. We landed in Washington D.C. And somehow made it to Jeff's house 24 hours later with $36 left.
Oh my God.
36. And then the funny part, I see Jeff almost daily, or at least a couple of times a week. I told Jeff 2-3 weeks later, I said, Jeff, I have like people here being so nice. I have $36 left. I said, can we throw like a party? And he was laughing. He's like, no, we're not throwing a party with your $36. So,
that's a wild journey, going from a military restaurant thinking it was fine dining to having to travel separately from your wife to not attract attention, to arriving with $36 in your pocket. You know, you're one of the greatest triathletes of all time, obviously, and someone that I've known literally since 1990. And we saw each other in Daytona, 2 years ago, and it was great to catch up with you again. It's just amazing. I don't think people fully understand probably what that journey was like for you and your wife.
I mean, it was very difficult. Like we got to Orlando, Jeff, and like we sit down. Like second day, we sit down, and I mean, we have no papers, nothing. We like right away we tried to apply when we close to our visa was expired. We tried to apply for political asylum, but we sit down. I believe it was second night at Jeff's house. We sit down and Jeff like, what do you want to do? And me being naive, I thought I was like, okay, I've done very little train, but I was like 36 at Worlds both times. And I said, I want to try race pro. And Jeff didn't think it was a great idea, So, me and Jeff basically did 3 sports every single day, like almost before lunch. I almost never went in afternoon. We just did swim, bike, run every day, and 5:30 o'clock in the morning. I thought it was crazy how Americans go swim at 5:30 in the morning. So
I agree.
And
It's crazy.
it's crazy. I cannot do it right now. So I start racing with my old Russian bike. I start racing sprints, and which is great train. I start winning all the sprints. Like, I mean, racing against amateurs.
Hmm.
So, but I got sharp really quick. You know, we arrive in January, and then St. Anthony's come, and you probably don't know this story. I ran from 12th to first place. I
Hmm.
ran by Brad Kearns,
Hmm.
and I caught Brad with like 800 yards to go
Mm-hmm.
at St. Anthony's, and I went by him like I didn't want to stay on the shoulder. I just went by, and so I won the race. But about 2 hours later, when I'm going back to get awards and get $3,000, which would be a little bit more money than I had at the time,
Hmm.
which is what, maybe like 30,000 now dollars.
Yeah,
I'm just
right.
kidding.
Well, when you come
So
36 and you get 3,000, that seems like a fortune. Yeah.
exactly. So sorry, I got 3,000, and I went back and people like talking, and I was like, what's going on? So they people told me I got disqualified for drafting. So that was like, I was like crying, and it was like, it was devastating. You know, I was like, okay, it's like, but you know, we drove home, and Jeff goes, you know, like now you should start training because you won that race, and like I believe in you.
Hmm.
And like all the people, all my friends in Orlando is like, wow, you can race with big dogs. So what happened is this, Mark, when you race in Europe, you know that I had very little experience. You had like warning cards. Like they would, my experience, I had like, they give you yellow, and then on the second time they give you red. So
Mm-hmm.
it's my first big race, and Scott Molina was in the field too. I remember riding with him. Uh, I I'm going through the corners, and I'm sure I was close, but it's through the corners. Nobody giving me yellow, so I'm like, I'm clean.
Hmm.
So I finished the race, and they said you got disqualified. I said, explain to me. So they explained they had officials standing in the corners watching for drafting, so they can see that side. And of course, I'm not going to defend myself, but of course you're going to be close in the corner.
Yeah.
So it was like,
Yeah.
it was just unexperienced. I got, and then, Pete Carlson, claimed me being drafted for the rest of my life, just because I got drafting penalties there.
Yeah. Well,
So,
Pete's a big mouth, so.
hi, Pete, if you're listening, I'll text him. But anyway, so then I was not traveling much because like I had limited money.
Mm-hmm.
So then second race was San Diego International.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've done it at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 1942. I'm sure you've done
Yeah, I did it before they invented it. No.
it. Anyway, so I won it, and Todd Jacobs got second.
Mm.
So, and I remember his quote. His quote in the newspaper. He said, "Well, I'm just racing for green. He's racing for green card. That's a little bit more heavy."
Mm.
So,
Mm.
and it's interesting story about that race. During the race, it was an earthquake
Oh.
because in the morning, we had a homestay. We had to run out of a house. It was a small earthquake, and then as we're running, I'm like running, and I probably like mile 4. I'm like, my legs are wobbly. I almost fell down. But
But
I
it was
find
an
out
earthquake.
after the race it was earthquake. So
That's a pretty
it
wild
was
story.
so
Well,
that's
well, you made it here. You were successful. Now you've got to be sort of looking at the situation that's going on in the world. And I just wonder what the athletes who are now banned from leaving Russia or competing anywhere in the world, what they must be thinking, what they must be going through now.
but I mean, this is very difficult
Mm.
even like go there because I have athletes in Russia and Kazakhstan. I have friends in Ukraine.
Mm.
uh, I mean, basically I think the whole country going through like depression. because what they leave before, if you're doing sports at high level, you have to believe 110% this is most important thing. Now it's like it doesn't make any sense compared what else is going on there. So I have athletes who completely stop training, and some athletes fighting to stay in shape. And I mean, I haven't talked much with Ukrainian friends, but I cannot imagine what they're going through, because it's just life's been turned upside down. So
what would be your advice to the athletes over there?
I would say this, and you probably know this, like, I have not been injured much, but I have a philosophy: if you're injured, you have to fight twice harder. I feel like they're in the same situations. They have to fight twice harder right now, because sooner or later it's going to come back, and hopefully soon enough it's going to be normal. So it's, some athletes out of COVID came in a great shape. Some athletes lost desire, so you have to choose where you can be. I mean, if you have ability to train, but I don't know, it's very hard to make a decision, but I feel like they need to make an effort to work harder, smarter, whatever it is, but stay focused, because for most athletes or coaches, it's still their life. So it's very, I mean, it's very difficult. I mean, I cannot speak for Ukrainian friends, because I cannot imagine what they're going through.
So don't give up on the dream then.
Don't give up, because I mean, I look back now, like what I went through here, I felt like you have to believe, which is very difficult for me right now as a coach. You have to believe what you're doing is, you have to be 110% focused. The most important thing, nothing else matter. But it's very difficult now in this situation, or even in US, to convince, kids would tell me, why is this important, So, but if you want to be successful, you gotta have that, build in your head. This is most important thing. So
yeah, that has to be hard, to be in a situation where there's destruction going on, or there's uncertainty about life itself, and then to stay focused on something that is sport, which on one level it is very important if it's important to you, but at the same time it's there are bigger issues. But at the same time, I think it helps to stay focused on sport. Like you said, during COVID, a lot of athletes came out of it in incredible shape during a period where you couldn't go to pools, you couldn't go to gyms, but they kept that focus and kept that dream alive, and now they're racing really, really fast, which is pretty incredible.
I mean, remember, Mark, we see all these updates, triathletes running in low 13 minutes. You remember they're doing tested on the road, on the track, and I was going like, where's this going? Like, and sure enough, these guys race Olympic distance in the same year, going insane time on Ironman. The fitness is unbelievable. So, but in same token, it's very hard. I can't imagine, because if you're going through this, and I mean, it's very hard, because depression is real, and sometimes people cannot even get out of bed. You need to exercise to get rid of depression, but if you cannot even think about it, go and exercise, it's very hard to do.
Wow, those are great words of wisdom. Would you want to say a word or two in Russian to your folks over there before we cut it out here and close it out?
Sure. Believe or not, I was doing a Russian lesson right now. That's why I put it 11. I have a break right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing Russian lessons online. So Yeah, sure. Ребята, всем привет. Продолжайте тренироваться и держитесь. Старты будут, все будет хорошо. Всем привет, обнимаю. Basically, I said, please keep training. You'll get races and stay positive.
Great. Well, thank you, Alex. So great to hear your perspective on this. Good luck with everything that you have going. And I hope you all enjoyed this Mondays with Mark Allen, something really special, unique. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.